Welcome back to the channel, everyone. Hope you're having a fantastic day. The power is in your hands. It is your responsibility. It's your mentality, and it is your implementation and action that are going to dictate how successful or unsuccessful you are if you want to change. Most people want to change, but do they really want to? I know for most of us, New Year's resolutions, a lot of people are focused on that. That's not really my style. Uh, Change management and change implementation on yourself is extremely difficult. There are three kind of hurdles or pitfalls that can impede you when you are trying to implement positive change in your life. Now, obviously, when I'm talking about change, it's super broad. It could be with your body, the way you look. It could be with your career. It could be with your relationships, the people you're around. It even can be your own mentality. And that one is very hard to change. Changing your way you think in your thinking pattern can translate into your behavior. But man, the initial switch on your mental is going to be probably the hardest for most people. The first thing that you want to understand is that this is your responsibility and the power is right here. It is in your hands. It's your responsibility. It's no one else's. No one's going to come and save you. You have to make that adult decision that you want to move forward, and this is something you actually want, because a lot of times people will talk and this and that. Don't talk about it. Be about it. Simple. You need to overcome is your initial mentality when it comes to that topic or that whatever you're thinking about changing. You do not want to have a negative outcome already planted in your mind. So an example is, let's say you want to quit drinking, easy example. Or let's say you're getting moved to a different area at work, and that's an area known for being difficult. Or obviously not drinking is, oh, how are you going to have fun, right? You have to be extremely careful on your negative disposition to think about whatever the change is. You do not want to have any negative emotion attached to that change, because it's going to be a wall and you're going to hit that. Like, you're going to be fighting it internally. It's a lot easier said than done just to not have that negative predisposition in your mind, but it does take practice. Most people's thoughts are negative generally. 70% of our thoughts are like negative emotion, negative outcome. It's super hard to train your mentality to switch or even to be more 50-50 neutral. That is something that is an ongoing challenge with a lot of people. And I've been there. It's super tough. But every once in a while, I kind of have to tell myself, like, you got this. Like, why are you thinking, like, you can't think like that? Recently, I had a huge shift in my personal life, and I almost kind of started thinking about that, like, oh man, this is going to be hard for me, and kind of almost playing into the victim mentality, but in my own mental, right? And that is something that you can mitigate by changing your thinking pattern. And your mentality is extremely important because it is going to directly correlate and connect to your behavior. And you do not want to be giving yourself extra friction if it is actually something you really want to do and it is your responsibility to do it. Your mentality has to be there. There shouldn't be any doubt in your mind that you can't do it. And if you do, don't be surprised when it's a year from now, 2 years, 5 years, and you look back and you're basically, man, I did not get my goal, or I did not implement this change that I wanted to, and I'm missing out. And life is too short for that. The last thing that should fall right into line once you've accepted the responsibility, your mentality is on point, is literally the adaptation or the action implementation of whatever the change is. Obviously, depending on what it is in the beginning, it could be rough as far as implementing the action side of it, but this is the follow through, right? Ton of people talk about changing, they want to change, they know they can do it. And then when it comes to that final part of taking action or adapting or following through, closing, they can't do it. And this is also something that is super, I mean, it's, this is super deep, right? This is almost like Darwinism, right? It's like, how do the fittest survive? They adapt to their environment, they adapt to the change, right? So you really need to be good at implementing this action, or else you're not going to survive this change that you want to happen, right? So implementing action is something that is going to literally just take your sheer will, especially when it's something like weight loss or it's working on your relationship. It's a lot of repetition, and you need to take the initial action, or else you're kind of dead in the water, right? You need to get your feet wet, so to speak, and you will start to build momentum. And obviously, if your mentality is on point from the previous, your mindset is already going in that direction, it's going to be a lot easier to implement that action. Now, probably the most important thing besides these three topics, and there's a ton of nuance in between and there's a lot of interconnectivity, but it's also just consistency with these three things, right? You can accept responsibility, you can have a great mentality, positive outlook, you can implement this change or action or adaptation, and then you kind of let it all go after a month, 2 months. Maybe you relapse and start eating Five Guys every day again in Chick-fil-A when you're trying to lose weight, or vice versa, right? You get the idea. Thank you guys for making it to the end of the video. This was actually inspired by a conversation with me and a few of my team members, about how so many people want to change, but very few people master it. Change is an art, and the paintbrush is in your hand.